What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody's enjoying their days so far and the start of a new week. And we are finally here after some week zero action gave us a little bit of appetizer. We have reached the main course of this meal, and we are officially going to be kicking off week one on Thursday in the SEC with Missouri and Central Arkansas. But we got a full course of games on Saturday, Sunday, and all through Monday. So, Wade, another season of SEC talk. We were here a couple of weeks back previewing the teams and our picks. But how you doing tonight?
Doing great. Week one, another season. I'm ready to see what all we got here. New team, or not new teams this year, but new players. And yeah, just more content for us to cover. So I'm excited.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get right to it. If you're with us a couple of weeks back, we did look at the coaches poll. Now we have access to the AP poll, so we're going to start off tonight's show with looking at that. As you can see, it's pretty much taken the whole entire slide. There's 10 teams in the SEC in the preseason AP Top 25 poll leading up to this new college football season. Let's go through all of the teams so far. Number one is Texas. Texas got a big matchup in the horseshoe against number 3 Ohio State. So that's going to be a big tipping point for the season of Ohio State as well as Texas. Number 5 is Georgia. So only 2 teams from the Southeastern Conference are in the top 5, but there's some more in the top 10 and throughout. Number 8, Alabama. They'll be on the road in Tallahassee playing Florida State. Number 9, LSU. They got a big one in Death Valley, the other Death Valley, in Clemson, South Carolina. Tigers versus the Tigers this Saturday night. Number 13, South Carolina. Shane Beamer's squad, after having a great end of the season, is back in the top 15. Number 15 is Florida. Florida's got a little tune-up game, but they're definitely going to have a hard schedule once again, both out of conference and the conference over the next couple of weeks and months. Number 19, Oklahoma. This is a team that's definitely getting a lot of preseason hype. It's warranted with John Mateer coming in from Washington State and Arbuckle, the OC from Washington State, coming with them. I guess I kind of screwed up here in the rankings. Texas A&M is number 19. Oklahoma is number 18, so sorry for that miscorrection. Number 21 is Ole Miss. Ole Miss was one of the more favored teams to win the SEC last season. Missing a couple of pieces from last year's squad, but they are definitely loaded once again this year, so they sit at number 21. And number 24 is Tennessee. So, Wade, we got a look back a couple of weeks ago at the coaches poll. What are your overall thoughts on the SEC teams being in the AP Top 25 poll? Because there's definitely a lot of them.
Yeah, we see Tennessee in there at 24. Oklahoma, I think, is a little bit higher, or they might not have been ranked.
Right.
And the other one, South Carolina and Florida getting some respect. Alabama, continues to kind of be lower than we're used to seeing them. And Georgia as well, Georgia's been 1 or 2 the last couple of years. So definitely a lot of teams, but I think it's showing that the game is, it's still more national than ever, with some of the Big Ten schools mixing in there in the top 10 as well, and then returning heavyweight favorites like Arizona State coming out of the Big 12, and then we saw Iowa State and Kansas State play this past week. So there's a lot of good football across the country, but hey, look, it starts here in the SEC.
Yeah, absolutely. In this poll, you see all these teams, all these changes are going to fluctuate. I mean, even after week 1, we could see Texas, either stay put or go backwards, or LSU could do the same, and many of our SEC teams could do the same throughout the past couple of weeks. So now let's go to our reminder segment. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to leave us a comment or a question about your favorite team going into action in week number 1 and your expectations heading into the new season. So definitely leave a comment and don't be shy. We will get to it at the end of the show. Both of our viewers listening on Facebook and YouTube, you can drop a comment and we will get to it at the end of the show. And now let's go back to SEC Fantasy. SEC Fantasy is returning once again in the same format. I know that we talked about it last year at the end of the season that maybe we would tinker with it. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. And we're still rolling with the same format. So we have 1 quarterback, 1 running back, a receiver, and a defense. So still the same roster structure. And then we have our 2 rules on the side where you cannot draft the same player twice in back-to-back weeks. So if you drafted Arch Manning in week number 1, you can't draft him in week number 2. And then our defense eliminator challenge. Once you draft a defense, you cannot use them again. And added note to week 1 matchup, if an FCC team was playing an FCS team, I mean, that's just too easy. That wasn't much of a challenge. So we just scrapped all of the SEC defenses playing FCS because that's just too easy. Because let's be real, they're probably only going to give up like 150 to 200 yards on the offense. So, Wade, you had the first overall pick, but we will go to the Gunslingers first. And not really too many new faces here. Both guys that we had drafted quite ad nauseum last year with Lenora Sellers, the South Carolina quarterback, and Garrett Nussmeier of LSU. So both going up against Power 4 programs, both ACC programs. Sellers is going up against Virginia Tech. Nussmeier going up against Clemson. So talk about the matchup and what you like about South Carolina and Sellers going up against the Hokies.
Yeah, I think week 1, we could see if Lenora Sellers is going to pick right back up where he left off. I mean, he finished the season as hot as anybody, and I don't think this Virginia Tech defense is as good as it usually is. I think that South Carolina is going to have their way in this game. I know that we're going to hit the game previews here in just a little bit, but Sellers is a guy I'm high on all season, and I think it's time for him to get it going right away.
Yeah, I'm going to go Garrett Nussmeier. I just trust him in his gunslinger ability, especially with the weapons on offense. Caden Durham definitely could catch some passes out of the backfield, but LSU definitely loaded up in the transfer portal with Barian Brown. Nick Anderson, Aaron Anderson is back as well, and you can't forget about Chris Hilton. So LSU's wide receiver group is absolutely loaded. And you can also can't forget about the tight end and Sharp from Oklahoma. So Garrett Nussmeier, I think that he's definitely going to have a nice game, and I think that LSU is definitely going to have to open up the pass game. Though they're going to have to complement the run game. I think that Garrett Nussmeier, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes over like 250, 300 yards passing, especially if LSU comes away with the victory on Saturday night. So that's the two gunslingers. On the running back side, Peyton Lewis isn't a new face. He was actually drafted last season when Sampson was down with an injury. Contrivion Wisner is back for another season in Texas. But Tennessee got an interesting matchup against Syracuse. Texas, I mean, I'm not fading away from the big boy matchups. I have LSU versus Clemson and Texas versus Ohio State. So talk about Peyton Lewis and how he's going to be able to step into the shoes of what Dylan Sampson's leaving.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, Dylan Sampson was our SEC fantasy MVP, I think, last season, or if he wasn't, he was. Yeah. He was a mainstay at running back. And before that, we had Jalen Wright, who's now on the Miami Dolphins. So these Tennessee running backs, they play a big role in that offense. So that's why I felt confident just going with the next guy up, Peyton Lewis. Like you said, he's played a little bit when Sampson was out. And I think that against a pesky Syracuse team, a team that I think can give Tennessee a fight, I don't think they're going to be too eager to throw the football if they don't have to. So I think Lewis is going to get 20-plus touches here and be a candidate to get 100 yards.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great pick there. I'm going to go with Wisner here. I mean, with Arch Manning going on the road, I know that he has some limited starts last season when Quinn Ewers is down with an injury. I think that Texas is definitely going to rely on this running game. And Ohio State definitely has a talented front seven, but most of that front seven has gone to the NFL. Not saying that it's going to be bad, but I think that if Texas does want to win this game, this running game has to step up. And the win. Just look at the Clemson game and the playoff game, and then Texas ran for 300 rushing yards. I mean, I don't think that they're going to get 300 rushing yards, but I think that Texas knows how to win these big type of games, and that's to rely on the run game. So give me the Texas running back to continue that against Ohio State. Now let's go on to the pass catchers. Barian Brown has been on SEC Fantasy, but he's in some new uniform with the LSU Tigers. Cam Coleman, the star sophomore now. He was the star freshman. Really talented wide receiver for Auburn. He's got a matchup with Baylor. So talk about Barian Brown's matchup going up against that Clemson secondary.
Hey, can this count as my Kentucky skill player for the year?
No, it can't.
But yeah, you brought up an interesting point. I don't know that we've seen a player featured on SEC Fantasy for two teams. Nothing's ringing a bell right off the bat. I mean, we've seen plenty of transfers.
Right now.
Yeah, I mean, guys transfer in all the time, but SEC to SEC, not as often. So, anyways, yeah, Berrien Brown. It's going to be a little tricky to see which LSU receiver separates himself. We all know they're talented and fast, but a little bit of a unproven room there. I think that none of them have ever been the guy, but I think they all could be. And the reason I'm going to go with Brown is I think he's going to get a lot of reps at slot receiver. Aaron Anderson, he's a really good slot receiver too, but he's dealt with some injuries. So I think Brown's benefited from practicing the most out of the group. And then I think Nick Anderson is going to have a good game, but his play is going to be limited by Clemson's corners. I mean, they have two of the better corners in the country. So LSU, if they're going to win this ball game, they're going to have to run the football well and then really hit some inside passing routes to the tight end and to the slot receiver, like you mentioned with Nussmeier. So I think
absolutely. I mean, yeah. Berrien Brown's definitely a good pick every single week just because of his speed. And since we're doing this on total yardage, I mean, if he creates some separation, that could definitely pile up into some nice yardage. And like you mentioned, it is going to be a tough matchup going up against that secondary. But, I mean, if LSU definitely loaded a receiver, so definitely going to be interested which wide receiver of the bunch is going to be leading them. And Berrien Brown definitely would be my pick. I was between two Auburn wide receivers, either Eric Singleton or Cam Coleman. Singleton is definitely a familiar face if you're coming from the ACC. He was a Georgia Tech transfer. So I think that I ended up going with Cam Coleman. He's been in the system before. Jackson Arnold coming from Oklahoma now to Auburn. Going up against a Baylor defense, the last time that we saw him was against LSU. And I remember their secondary didn't really do so hot against Nussmeier in that passing attack. So I'm going to go with Cam Coleman. I think that Auburn, definitely a sneaky team that could pull off this win. We'll definitely get into the Auburn-Baylor game, but I think that Cam Coleman throughout the season is definitely going to be a popular pick just because of his athleticism in the wide receiver slot. So give me Cam Coleman. You went with Berrien Brown. And now to finish off our rosters for week number 1, let's go ahead and go to the defenses. And you see these defenses, Wade, you can no longer have A&M, and I can no longer have Ole Miss. But since we didn't pick any FCS teams, Texas A&M is going up against UTSA. Almost forgot who they were going up against, but I remembered at the last second. And then Ole Miss is going up against Georgia State. So pretty much not too much of consideration outside of the other games like Texas going up against Ohio State, like all the other matchups for like Virginia Tech and South Carolina. So it feels like these were the two best. So talk about Texas A&M's defense. This is definitely going to be a defense to watch throughout the season.
Yeah, this is a good unit. So it was debatable whether I should burn them week 1, but I felt like looking at their schedule, it's pretty tough, and they play some Power 5 games when other teams are playing Group of 5 teams. So I felt like this was the right time to use them, and we don't want to pick on the little guys, so. We can't take Florida or something like that against Long Island. So this is kind of the best of the rest. I think I can fare well without them. The ironic part is that I think these were two of our last defenses we picked last season. So, hey, we're giving them a little love early and, going with the Aggies.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ole Miss versus Georgia State. Now, Ole Miss has definitely got some question marks on the defensive side. I mean, they were very talented last season, but they did lose some guys, especially on the D line, Walter Nolan being the face of that defensive line last season. So Georgia State's offense is scrappy. They could definitely put up points, but I think that Ole Miss at home, especially in the season opener, gets it done. So I went with Ole Miss because outside of that, like I mentioned, not really too many defenses that I trust. Because they're going up against some talented offenses. So Texas A&M and Ole Miss will lead off the defenses, and those will be the two defenses eliminated off the rip. So now let's go to some results. We did a couple of weeks back pick some week 0 games. We had 5 in total. You went 3-2. I went 4-1. Obviously, the loss, we both picked Kansas State. Iowa State was the victor, and your only other loss was actually a Conference USA game. Sam Houston and Western Kentucky. The Hilltoppers, unfortunately for you, beat Sam Houston 41-24. Wasn't really much of a game. But honestly, we were very close of having another loss of Idaho State almost pulling off the upset against UNLV. And then Hawaii kicked a game-winning field goal to beat Stanford. That was definitely an awful game because Stanford's pretty bad and Hawaii honestly isn't that great either. But 4-1 and 3-2 to start off this season. And now let's get into our week 1 games and pick them. There's definitely a lot of games on this schedule, so let's go ahead and waste no time. Let's get right into the first one. And our first one is going to be a Thursday game between Central Arkansas and Missouri. I think you and I can agree that Missouri's definitely slept on this season because last season they were very high on. And honestly, I'm surprised they're not ranked in the AP Top 25 poll. I feel like they're deserving it. So, but Bo Pabula, that's going to be the starting quarterback. They're going to be playing 2 quarterbacks in this game to figure out who's going to be quarterback 1. In my eyes, it should be Bo Pabula, but who knows? So how do you have Missouri starting off this season against Central Arkansas? It is a tune-up game, but what are you looking for on Thursday night for this Missouri squad?
I think we want to see was Ahmad Hardy always built up to be. I mean, this team's getting back to power running, and they got a dual threat quarterback. So I think we want to see how well Missouri can run the football because they lost their 2 best receivers. So they're going to have to go back to that ground game. So if they can run it with ease, I'd feel a lot better about this team making a run in the SEC. But, yeah, they're going to get it done week 1.
Yeah, really no time to talk about this game. It should be an easy one. Just get 1-0 and go on to the next one. So we all rolling with the Tigers. And yes, Chet, our upset specialist, is back with us for another year, picking with us every single week, and we're going to be compiling it. We'll also have some guest pickers whenever we have some big-time matchups. Obviously, in week number 1 we do, but we're going to save some for the next couple of weeks. So definitely tune into that. Now we get our first SEC versus Big 12 matchup, Auburn at Baylor. This is definitely one that I'm excited for. Baylor definitely getting a lot of hype in the Big 12, a wide-open Big 12, as you saw from Iowa State and Kansas State, how crazy that this conference can get. It's only week number 0. But Baylor, they're returning Sawyer Robinson, a very talented defense. Auburn, some new faces for them, like I mentioned, Eric Singleton, the transfer from Georgia Tech, and then Jackson Arnold. And this is going to be a do-or-die year for Hugh Freeze. If he doesn't honestly make a bowl game or even go more beyond that, this might be the end for Freeze. So this is a big-time matchup for Auburn. So do you have them starting 1-0, or do you have the Bears getting it done at home?
I love this matchup, and I'm so glad it's on Friday so that we can watch it, right, and not have it interfere with the LSU game. I'm high on Baylor this year, man. I'm high on Auburn too, but I'm going to go with Baylor at home. I think that the returning experience with Robertson at quarterback goes a long way, and I'm just not sold on Jackson Arnold yet. I still think he's kind of what limits this team. But I do think they'll be improved. But I think that they have a little bit of a ceiling still until he kind of lives up to that 5-star billing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is going to be a 4-quarter battle, but I'm going to give it to the home team. And Baylor, like you mentioned, I'm also high on Baylor. I don't have them winning the Big 12. That pick is Utah at the moment for me. But I'm going to go with Baylor. This is going to be a back-and-forth matchup. I think I wouldn't be surprised if both team got into like the mid to lower 30s, be like a 34-31 type of game, both explosive offenses. But I'm going to go with the Bears, and it's a clean sweep of Baylor. So poor old Auburn's not getting any respect from us, but we'll see if they can pull off the shocker out there in Waco. And now let's get into our SEC Talk game of the week. It's only the 3rd game we're talking about, but Big Noon Kickoff gives us this at 11 a.m. And it's also going to be College Game Day, Lee Corso's final show. Definitely going to be excited to tune into that one. Number 1, Texas at number 3, Ohio State. This is a rematch from last year's college football playoff semifinal game. And Ohio State ended up winning this one. If you remember, Jack Sawyer, with the late scoop and score, was able to separate the Longhorns from the Buckeyes, as the Buckeyes, with that win, ended up winning the national championship. But those are definitely 2 different squads heading into this matchup. 2 new quarterbacks. Ohio State's rocking with Jalen Sand, and Texas is rolling with a name that is ever so popular in the sports world, in Arch Manning. So how do you have this one shaping out? This feels like a big-time matchup. Texas versus Ohio State. Who you got?
Let me tell you, I read Phil Steele's college football preview this weekend, and, man, he is high on Texas. He is high on Arch Manning. Thinks he's preseason player of the year, first-team All-American, SEC, you name it. It's Arch Manning. that's a lot of pressure on a guy making his third start. One of them was against UL Monroe. I think the other was an SEC game.
I think it was Mississippi State and Florida were his other two.
Okay, so maybe one decent opponent. That's a lot of inexperience to go into Ohio State and try to pull it off. I'm not discounting what he's going to do. I think this Texas team is going to be fine. I think that by the time they play Georgia, they could very well contend and go beat Georgia. But week one, I'm going to go with Ohio State. I'm going with the experience. New quarterback or not, that's just a tough opening road game for sure.
Yeah, definitely a tough one to go on the road to what's going to be a hostile environment in the Horseshoe on Saturday morning. Like I mentioned, I mean, there's going to be a lot of new faces both on the offense and the defensive side. Jonathan Wingo is going to be Texas wide receiver 1 now with the departures at the wide receiver spot. Ohio State, I mean, honestly, one of the best 1-2 punches that they got at the wide receiver position with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. Ohio State is going to have to reload at the running back position. Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins are both gone, but I expect this to be a defensive type of game. I mean, these are two new quarterbacks coming into this system. I mean, Sayin and Manning doesn't really have too much experience at the starting position, so I think it's going to be a low-scoring game going to the half. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 14-7 at the break and they, finally get it going. But give me the Longhorns to pull this thing out. I mean, I'm very high on Texas as well, like a lot of people are. I have them making it all the way to the SEC championship game. Nothing to discredit Ohio State, but I'm just buying into the Texas hype. We'll see if it works out. We'll see if it's not. This could blow up in my face and Ohio State wins like 42-17 like they did against Tennessee. But Chet's going to go with Ohio State, and you can see why he went with Texas, just to get a little separation.
Break it up a little bit,
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 on the Buckeyes, 1 on the Longhorns. We'll see how this plays out. Last time Texas went into the Big Ten, worked out pretty nice for them when they beat Michigan a couple of years back. I'm not expecting that type of blowout, but you never know in college football these days. Let's go on to the next matchup. This is honestly one of the most underrated games of the weekend. Syracuse versus number 24 Tennessee. Syracuse coming in definitely one of the more underrated teams in the ACC. You could say Duke is also underrated, Georgia Tech, North Carolina with the hype of Bill Belichick and Gio Lopez being the starting quarterback. And Tennessee, like we said, I mean, every single team we have talked about, what are they replacing? A quarterback. Nico is no longer at Tennessee. He's now at UCLA. Joey Aguilar coming from Appalachian State. And also at the running back position, how did they replace Dylan Sampson in the defense? I think a lot of people are talking about, are they going to take a step back or not? So Syracuse versus Tennessee, ACC versus SEC, a lot of matchups featuring both of those conferences over the weekend. So how do you have the SEC doing against the ACC in this one?
I like Syracuse and the ACC as a dark horse. I think that losing Kyle McCord is going to be tough for them and LaQuint Allen. So they got some rebuilding to do. But I think it's a talented team. Tennessee, I mean, this team just scares me. I'm not really a big believer in Joey Aguilar. They have no returning starters at wide receiver. They've lost Dylan Sampson, but we talked about it. Peyton Lewis, he's good. I think he's going to be that next guy. I like that it's a neutral site game closer to Tennessee, but I just am not buying the Vols right now. I'm going to go with Syracuse in a little bit of a shocker here. I think it's going to be low scoring, like a 24-21 type game, but give me Syracuse in this one. This could be totally wrong, and Aguilar could fit the hype, but I don't know. I think it's going to be slow out the gate for Tennessee.
Man, so far in the big games, you haven't even picked a single SEC team. You must be down on the conference.
Well, I mean, it would have worked in the bowl season, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go Tennessee here. I just still have faith in this team to get things right out of the gate. So, Joey Aguilar, you could have your question marks about him. I think that Tennessee will take a step back from last year's squad. I mean, I don't think that they make the college football playoff this season, but I still think that they could be an 8-4, 9-3 type of team. Syracuse, I definitely like them. I think that Tennessee's defense will rise to the occasion in this game. So give me the Volunteers, and you're the lone orange on this one in the battle of the orange quads there. So we'll see how it works out for our pickers here as we go on to the next one. and it's an in-state battle between Mississippi State at Southern Miss. Yes, Mississippi State is going on the road to Hattiesburg.
The Rock, right?
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
This is definitely going to be – honestly, I'm going to watch this one because this is definitely going to be an exciting matchup. It should honestly be Mississippi State at Marshall because this is pretty much what Southern Miss has become. They took Marshall as head coach, and they'd be like, all right, we'll take your quarterback, your receiver, and pretty much your whole entire team. So Mississippi State at Marshall, a.k.a. Southern Miss, who you got?
Oh, what do I want to do? I can't keep picking against the SEC, can I?
Especially against Sun Belt team, but you have.
Sure, I can. I don't know, man. Mississippi State, they scare me, but I can't believe they would lose to Toledo last year and Southern Miss.
Yeah, that would be awful.
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to go with State.
All right, so I guess you have this one being razor-thin margin and Mississippi State winning this one because
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I mean, Southern Miss, yes, you did bring up a good point. They brought in all the Marshall players. Marshall won the no, they didn't win the Sun Belt, did they?
No, I don't think they won the Sun Belt.
They had a good year though, and they bring all those guys in. So this is going to be a new look team. But this is still a team that was pretty bad a year ago. So I don't think they're quite at the echelon to beat an SEC school. But if it were to happen, it would be at home against Mississippi State. But I'm going to give Mississippi State the benefit of the doubt.
I think that Southern Miss is going to give Mississippi State a headache, but it's a new season for the Dogs. Give me Mississippi State on the road to get it done. Will it be pretty? No. Will it be a win to get them to 1-0 and look forward to Arizona State coming to their house next week? They definitely need this one before it gets really tough because if they don't win this one, then they ain't making a bowl game this season. So give me Mississippi State. And Chet is going with Southern Miss. There's our first upset,
Homer
if you want to call it. Yeah, homer pick for him. But 2 on the Dogs and 1 on the Golden Eagles. Definitely going to be a hostile environment at the Rock. Moving on to the next game. Speaking of Toledo, I'm glad you brought up Toledo because here they are again, going into SEC country. Toledo is honestly the unanimous favorite to win the MAC, and I've seen some experts even pick Toledo to make it to the college football playoff, which give me the MAC team. Honestly, if a MAC team makes it to the playoff, that would be the best thing ever. But Toledo at Kentucky, we've talked about Kentucky honestly being one of the worst teams in the SEC. I'll just say very bluntly, they're not going to be very good this season. You have Zach Calzado coming from Incarnate Word. Speaking of Incarnate Word, I want to shout out Nichols for pulling off that upset on Saturday. If you tuned in to ESPN2, his absolute dominant performance. So good job by the Colonels. But going back to this one, Toledo, Kentucky, I feel this is where it gets a little bit wild when we're picking these two teams.
Yeah, it does. And look, Toledo, I think one thing that's cool about them is they're not afraid to schedule these SEC matchups. They've played Ohio State in years past. So they look pretty good whenever they play the big schools. I mean, they gave Ohio State fits. They beat Mississippi State last year. Another SEC win could go a long way to making the playoff, like you said. I think they would need a big win like this, and then they would need Boise State and Tulane to kind of have a rough season. Could happen. They're both losing their star running backs and some talent across the board to the transfer portal. So, look, the window's there, and I think they get off to the right start here. I am low as low can get on Kentucky. Usually I'm a big blue buyer. Not this season. Give me the Rockets.
Yeah, didn't Toledo, they didn't just beat Mississippi State. They beat the doors off them 41-17 last season. Yeah, Toledo, I've been seeing reports like Kentucky, we're not going to be overlooking Toledo. But once Toledo hits that field, it's going to be a rude awakening for Kentucky. However, I'm going to be just boring and plain. I'm going to pick Kentucky at home. I think they get it done in a very sloppy but winnable game for the Cats. And Chet's going to go the same. So, man, either you're going to be at the bottom of the standings this week or you're going to be at the top.
SEC hater.
Yeah, you're an SEC hater over here. We might have to suspend you next week of how much hate you're giving the conference. But let's go on to the next one, which features, speaking of Marshall, they're definitely a new look team this season. They had to go on the road to number 5 Georgia for their first game. Good luck, Marshall. But how do you have this one going? Georgia definitely a team that is catching a lot of people's attention. Both national championship aspirations, but Gunnar Stockton is now the face of this team. So what are you looking forward to in Georgia's first game in this new era? Even though that Stockton got his first start, both in the playoff and the SEC championship, he now has a full season.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm more interested in how they're going to run the football.
Right.
I feel like they've kind of gone to a committee approach the last few seasons, and that's fine, and I think they will again. But Nate Frazier, if he can be like that dominant Georgia running back that we're used to, I think that would really help Stockton because, they kind of had a change in offensive identity between Bennett and Carson Beck where they were really trying to throw the football. I think they're going to go back to that old school running and defense. So I'm excited to see this new look offense. And yes, the SEC hatred stops here. I'm going with Georgia.
Finally, an SEC pick. But I'm going to go with Georgia. I mean, this is going to be a blowout. Marshall's just not a very good football team. They're pretty much replacing their whole entire roster because, like I mentioned, they're now playing in Hattiesburg. But now we're going all dogs. I mean, honestly, get used to this, seeing pretty much a G every single week. But let's go on to the next matchup. Number 8, Alabama at Florida State. Alabama is my SEC champion, so obviously I'm high on them this season. Maybe others are still having some question marks just because of Ty Simpson hasn't proven himself yet. Jam Miller is also out in this game. He suffered a broken collarbone, but he will be back for that Georgia game. So that's definitely going to be huge for Alabama. Florida State, season to forget last season, 2-10. And all I've heard from Florida State and Tommy Castellanos, he's been talking mad shit about Alabama this season. So we'll see if it works. We'll see if it's not. Alabama versus Florida State. We've seen it last time we saw this matchup. It was an absolute blowout. And it feels like for the past couple of years, it's been a blowout every time Alabama faces these type of team to open up the season. So do you have this being even close?
I mean, I like that Florida State's at home. But, yeah, I mean, I just don't see Alabama losing this one. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think Jam Miller is kind of the identity of this team. But that being said, Ty Simpson does have 2 of the better receivers in the SEC to throw to. So I think they'll get by with a committee approach, and they'll be able to throw the ball just fine on this rebuilding Florida State team. But no, I think it's going to be like a 14 or 15-point win. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State's offense can't get any worse than it did last year. I mean, DJU's the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Now you get Tommy Castellanos coming from Boston College. He's a dual-threat quarterback, but honestly, the one thing you don't do against Alabama is trying to be all tough on him because look what USC did, coming out of the tunnel. They're like bear crawling. They got beat like 52-6. I don't think this one's going to be close. I mean, I know that Florida State tried to rebuild from the transfer portal and all, but Alabama – it's just gonna be all Crimson Tide on this one. This is definitely a team that's looking for revenge this season after having a disappointing first season under Kalen DeBoer. And Chet's going with Alabama. So even if Chet's not even picking Florida State, they don't have a chance in this one. So give me all of us on the Crimson Tide. And now we go to the FCS versus SEC teams. Hopefully we won't see many of these moving forward. But Alabama A&M at Arkansas. Arkansas definitely one of those sleeper teams in the SEC with Taylor Green coming back. Really talented offense. They did lose some key pieces on the defensive side of the ball, them being one of Landon Jackson. But Arkansas is not playing in Little Rock for the first time, it feels like, in quite some time for the first season. Thank the Lord. They're actually playing in their own stadium for once. But Alabama A&M, Arkansas, I believe you're going with Arkansas unless you are turning crazy on me and going against the SEC once again.
Yeah, maybe if you took the A&M off.
Oh, Alabama and Arkansas.
or even Alabama off there, but together, no. I'm going to go with Arkansas in this one. By the way, they're trying to get rid of the Little Rock game. This is the last year it's under contract. I think they play one of their other out-of-conference games there.
All right. Well, hopefully, I don't know if there's going to be any more Little Rock games, but we will have to see. Arkansas, pretty self-explanatory. I mean, FCS teams don't really stand a chance unless you're playing in NCAA 26. Let's go on to the next one. Illinois State at number 18, Oklahoma. Let's just go quick picks here. Wade, are you going with the Sooners here?
Yeah, I'm excited to see this offense.
Yep, 3 Oklahomas, and we continue with the FCS versus SEC. Long Island, number 15, Florida. I'm guessing you're going with the Gators here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Gators. This is a weird matchup.
It is a weird matchup. I mean, Long Island has been a powerhouse in baseball. It feels like for the past couple of years. I would love to see this matchup, but on the football field, not going to be a good day for the Sharks of Long Island. Golly, that's going to be. Imagine going from New York, the weather in New York, all the way down to Gainesville, where it's probably going to be feels like 110, and the humidity is going to be through the roof. Just look at what Utah went through a couple of years back. But all Gators, and now we go to UTSA number 19, Texas A&M. Can A&M avenge what the baseball team couldn't do and beat UTSA?
That is a good point. Yeah, I mean, UTSA's they're no slouch. They got Luke McCown's son at quarterback, I believe. So I think they could hang in here a little bit, but once A&M gets rolling with Marcel Reed, I think this one's over pretty quick. And I think they just run away with it in the second half.
Yeah, pretty easy here. I'm going to go with Texas A&M. Chet's going to go with Texas A&M. We're just going to breeze through all these. Charleston Southern at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, we'll see if they can be our SEC talk. If we can just bring them up every single week like we did last season. But Vanderbilt going up against Charleston Southern, I know a college that you're quite familiar with, so definitely going to be an exciting matchup for you to watch. So you got between the Buccos and the Doors.
Charleston Southern, they play a lot of SEC teams. They've gone down to the Swamp against Tim Tebow. They played at Georgia. They're not afraid to play these games and get their check. This one could be winnable in years past, but I do think Vanderbilt has turned a new leaf, and I think they're going to have no problem.
Yeah, give me the Doors. This one is going to be over by halftime. Sorry, Charleston Southern. Get your check and get out. Vanderbilt is going to win this one. And now let's go to our other big matchup on Saturday night. If you're an LSU fan, you're probably thinking that you don't have to wait all the way until Sunday night for the season openers. We had number 9 LSU and number 4 Clemson. Now, this has definitely been an exciting couple of last matchups. The last time that these teams faced off was in the national championship in 2020. Then before that was the 2012 Peach Bowl where Clemson won on a walk-off field goal. So definitely exciting times. This is going to be a home-and-home game, so not only will we see it this year, but we'll also see it next year in Baton Rouge. So LSU versus Clemson, definitely an exciting matchup. Two high-powered offenses and two talented defenses. So how do you see this one playing out on Saturday night?
Oh, man, LSU. 5 straight season opener losses. Tough road game. I think Clemson's slightly overrated. I mean, they did get dismantled by Georgia, and they got beat by South Carolina at home. So I don't know if they're deserving of the number 4 ranking, but I think it's certainly a top 10 team. And that's a tough one to go in on the road. I like both of the quarterbacks a lot. Clemson defense is pretty overwhelming. If LSU can run the football, it'll go a long way. But my main concern is it's going to take like 2 or 3 games to get this new revamped secondary for LSU to gel. And you do not have that luxury playing a road game against a top 3 quarterback in the country. And I think LSU loses another heartbreaker. But I'm not going to be heartbroken because I picked the loss here. The last couple seasons, I've picked them to win. So, hey, maybe there's a little psychology going on here. But as it stands, yeah, I hate having that Paul print by my name. I really do.
No, I think you secretly love it. But LSU and Clemson, yeah, this is definitely going to be the one to watch. I don't even know. It's either going to turn into a high-scoring affair where both defenses can't stop a lick, or this is going to be just an all-out brawl between the two defenses. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't even know how this one's going to go. But I think if LSU's side on defense, you cannot let Cade Klubnik go all wild. I mean, he's a dual-threat quarterback. You have to limit the big rushing plays that he had, especially late in the season, because he struggled early in the season when Clemson was struggling. But whenever, they were making that run to the college football playoff, Cade Klubnik was sensational down the stretch. I think that if you were going to put one question mark on Clemson, is at the running back position. I think that's where – I really say that's the weakest, but they definitely have to prove themselves. Same with LSU. I mean, you have Caden Durham. But LSU was honestly abysmal at running the football last season. Garrett Nussmeier was throwing it like 40 to 50 times a game. Can't really do that too much, especially against a Clemson front that's going to really stack up the box there. So I think that this is going to be a 4-quarter battle. Honestly, I've been picking LSU for the past couple of years. They let me down. I'm going to continue to until they actually give me a win to open up this season.
That's a true fan.
So give me the Tigers. I'm going to say 28-24. I think it's going to be a 4-quarter battle. I think LSU's defense steps up to the occasion and gets like a late pick to seal the deal. And the LSU fans will storm the field like Clemson does. I'm going to be the Tigers. Give me the LSU Tigers, purple and gold. I forgot there's 2 Tigers in both Death Valleys. But Chet, you know him. He won't go against the purple and gold ever unless honestly, I can't remember the last time that that Chet went against LSU. But 1 is on Clemson, 2 is on LSU. And the theme of this week is that Wade doesn't like the SEC this year. So remember that for the past couple of weeks. Moving on to the next one, Georgia State at number 21, Ole Miss. How do you have the Rebels facing off? And honestly, I haven't heard from you about Ole Miss. So what are your expectations from Lane Kiffin's squad this year?
I think they're favorable, optimistic. I think this team, I think they're going to have to reload at quarterback and wide receiver, but I don't think they're in a bad shape at either position. I think we're just going to have to get used to some new names, but I think the offense is plug and play. I mean, Lane Kiffin's still running the show, so I think this team has less championship pedigree potential, but honestly, they didn't meet that last year when they had the players to do it. So I think they're an 8-4 kind of team, and this will be a win.
All right, Ole Miss. Honestly, this would have been amazing if this was on Turner, like the old Turner Field. This would have been an amazing road trip for Ole Miss. But unfortunately, Georgia State is going to go on the road, and they will go home with a loss. Same thing the way the Braves have been playing this season. So give me Ole Miss. Now let's go on to the next one. Now we go to the Sunday games. We don't have any Monday games in the SEC, though. The Monday game, definitely tune in that one. TCU versus North Carolina, definitely going to be a game to watch on Labor Day. Virginia Tech versus number 13, South Carolina. It's the Beamer Bowl. Virginia Tech and South Carolina. I think a lot of people are very high on South Carolina this season. So who you got between the Hokies and the Gamecocks?
Yeah, a lot of people are buying the Gamecocks. Virginia Tech, Brent Pry, he's on the hot seat. He's got to have a good season. I think they brought back Kenyon Drones at quarterback.
Yep, they did.
So they're going to be an experienced bunch, but I think South Carolina is just too talented overall. I think that Virginia Tech hangs around, but Lenore Sellers makes a lot of plays with his legs and just kind of takes this game over. Good news for the Gamecock fans, Jordan Faison, the running back transfer, he is now eligible. You kind of thought he would be, but the eligibility case just kept lingering on. He was a big transfer portal target. He had offers from Alabama and other SEC schools. So, South Carolina is very happy to have him. They didn't really have too much of a backup plan at that position. So going from Raheem Sanders to Faison makes that transition a lot easier and takes a little pressure off Sellers.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I started South Carolina Dynasty. He's an absolute dog. He honestly almost won the Heisman. If it wasn't for Lenore Sellers having almost 5,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards, he was pretty much Lamar 2.0. Same things that you said. I think that Virginia Tech stays close to them, but South Carolina opens up with a statement win. I think that this game starts off Nick Carver's breakout season. I think that he really has to get it going. South Carolina wants to get to the college football playoff. I think that the defense, I think a lot of people have some question marks, but I think that they really showed against a talented quarterback in Kyron Drones. So give me South Carolina. I think it's going to be like a 31-17 type of game like that. But I will go with the Gamecocks. And Chet will also go with the Gamecocks. So clean sweep. And finally, Wade actually picking an SEC team. It's obviously going to be his South Carolina Gamecocks in this matchup, winning this one. But we also some other games to note outside the conference on Sunday is Notre Dame, Miami. Definitely stay tuned into that one. And like I mentioned, North Carolina and TCU will be one to watch. We're going to skip the SEC moving to 9-game conference schedule because we have a little bit of an experiment that Wade did a couple of years back that he wants to show you. So we'll save that at the end of our Hot Topic segment. But I already mentioned this, Bo Pabula and Horn is going to be playing in the opener for quarterback one. So it's pretty much like a preseason type of game. But I do expect Bo Pribula will be the starter moving forward. And the next question, I think that a lot of people have definitely this question leading up to the preseason. There's definitely been some great Florida quarterbacks, but do you think that DJ Lagway is the next in line?
Yeah, I'm really high on DJ Lagway. Certainly the best thing they've had at the position in the last 10 years, maybe. Kyle Trask was good. But yeah, they need that star quarterback again. He doesn't have to be Tim Tebow, but he is going to be the focal point of this offense. And I think they go as far as he goes. I think if he's all SEC, this is like a 10-win team. I think if he's serviceable, this is a 7-win team, kind of at the floor. If he gets hurt, this could be a 5-win team. So he's a big part of what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then last one, Auburn will be retiring Cam Newton's jersey. So another legend going in. They already retired Bo Jackson's number, and now Cam Newton will have his number retired. So if you watched him in college, he was definitely a sensational NFL career with the Panthers. And then after that, well, didn't really go too well for him. Now he's doing podcasts. Now let's go on back to the top. SEC's moving to 9-game conference schedule. I'm going to give you the floor for this one, but give me your thoughts while I go ahead and pull up what you did back in 2018 of the SEC moving to the 9-game conference schedule starting next season, which is going to be in 2026.
Yeah, this is something that, I've been advocating for a while, as we're about to see. I think that as college football expands and we got NIL and we've got conference realignment, we got to at least get back to the basics of, hey, this is college football. It's about being on college campuses. It's about a 4-year commitment. And you know what? This schedule allows for that to happen. If you go somewhere, and I know it's the rarity now, and you stay all 4 years, you'll have the opportunity to play every SEC team and visit every stadium while still protecting some of the key rivalries. So I think it's great. I think that there's games that we look forward to every year. Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Auburn, Georgia, Florida. Those games matter to people. They matter to the border states, and we should absolutely protect that. The Egg Bowl. We couldn't have SEC football without it. But there's other games that, in the old system, when we had the divisions, that, yeah, they were good games, but do we need to see LSU and Mississippi State play every year? I would say no. It'd be nice for them to play every 3 years or every other year. But at the expense of not playing Georgia for 10 years, that just didn't ever make sense to me. So I like it. We're going to see more teams play each other. And I think it'll just keep the parity up in this great league. But as you see on your screen here, this is something that I have been thinking of for a long time, going back 7 years ago. And I made this before Oklahoma and Texas joined the conference. There were only 14 schools, and the assumption at the time was that they were only going to play 8 SEC games. But, you had 2 teams, makes sense to go to 9, and I think you could just scale everything up. So basically what I tried to do was, and this was when there were still divisions, right? So what I tried to do was respect the cross-division rivalries that the SEC had already established. But then I also tried to incorporate some traditional rivalries or just modern rivalries that meant a lot to either school. And those 3 games are in the colored text. Those would be played every single year. And then I came up with the idea of the 2 rotating years, A year and B year, where you would play the remaining SEC schools every other year. And so the idea was just like the SEC said, if you stay here 4 years, you'll get to play every team at every stadium. And I think that's the way it should be. So I think it's a huge step in the right direction. I think we'll have to revisit this graphic Tyler. Once
just to see how right you are. So we'll definitely
yeah.
have to come back to this. But I definitely agree. I think it was just due time once Oklahoma and Texas. They were just going to do the first 2 years, just do the regular schedule. And I like the idea that you have to schedule a Power Four out of conference schedule.
That's another, big point.
So there's going to be, not of these like Florida facing Long Island, for instance, anymore. I mean, you're still going to have that, but it's going to be not like in week 12 when like Alabama faces like Mercer. It feels like some types of that. But I'm interested to see what each school, what 3 schools that they will be playing every single year and how these things going to be rotating. Because one year, you can have a manageable schedule, but what if you get like Georgia, Texas, LSU, Alabama, and all 1 year, and you're absolutely screwed. And then you have to play like a team like Clemson outside of the conference. So that just really, not really limits them the amount of playoffs, but it's definitely going to be like just a chaos that's going to happen in the SEC moving forward. Just the conference schedule and the non-conference schedule is going to get a little bit of a boost too. So we will definitely keep track of this graphic, and whenever you get the news, probably won't be until the off season whenever they're going through the schedules and what specific teams and their rivalries, because we know some teams like Alabama is going to be playing Auburn. Texas A&M will be playing Texas. Oklahoma will more than likely be Texas. So Texas will probably be playing A&M and Oklahoma. So all those type of rivalry games, but I'll be curious if like the LSU Arkansas games stage, because it is a trophy game, but who knows? But we will definitely keep an eye on that. That probably won't be till the off season. But I don't see any questions on YouTube. What about on Facebook, Wade?
Just some enthusiasm for the season. We had 5 viewers at one point, so getting a little action back there on Facebook. Oh, and by the way, I see one thing on the schedule idea that my younger self
Let me pull it back up.
Didn't appreciate. LSU, we got to play Ole Miss. I think that's one that we gotta
I would
work
probably take out Arkansas.
I mean,
Keep
I think
Florida and Alabama.
Yeah, I could see them getting rid of the Florida game, but I do like it. But yeah, I think Ole Miss LSU is a game that
right.
I think.
I mean, the past couple of years, it's been like the game of the SEC.
Yeah, border game. Got a trophy, so yeah, that's one I would maybe edit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the offseason, we could definitely come back to this and like make our own predictions, because I mean, I'm going through like some of these, and like Georgia, Florida is definitely going to stay. Who knows if LSU, Tennessee, Florida is going to stay? So it's just you need one more SEC team. So honestly, this is going to be an off-season project. I think we're going to go back to this. We're going to go through it, and we're going to make our predictions of what teams are going to be playing every single season. But for us, that is it for our Week 1 show. We will be back in week number 2 to both recap and look forward to Week 2 games. We'll get some more big-time matchups from our SEC teams. But we appreciate everybody for tuning into tonight's show, and we'll see you back here next week for more SEC football. So looking forward to a great first weekend, and we will see you all back here next week. So have a good rest of your week, and so long for now.